See that? You guys asked how I make my shepherd's pie. Ask and you shall receive. Come, let me show you. I've already peeled my potatoes, but you're going to have to need about 5 or 6 medium to large potatoes. I like to cook them in chicken broth just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. So I'm going to cut these up and then we're going to boil them. Okay, so when I cut them, I just cut them in half and then again in half again, so like in quarters. And then what I do is I just cut them in little pieces like this. That's just my preference. You don't really have to do it this way, but I just find it's easier. It boils quicker. So I cut them in half, again in 4. The kind of potatoes that I like to use for this, and actually they're pretty much my favorite potatoes anyway, are russet potatoes. I don't know. I'm assuming you can get those wherever you're at, but those are just my favorite kind. And if you can't find specifically russet, if you want to take a look at the bag, just make sure that they are boiling potatoes or like roasting potatoes. You don't want them to be too wet. You want them to be like fluffy kind of potatoes. There, they're all cut up. I'm going to add the chicken broth to here. If I don't have enough chicken broth, there's not a specific amount. Just add enough chicken broth to cover your potatoes. And if you don't have chicken broth, that's okay too. I've done it plenty of times without the chicken broth. Just add water and some salt. Here's the chicken broth that I'm going to be using today to cook the potatoes. Let me see if you can just see that a little bit. You can also use like a cubed, those like chicken bouillon cubes. You can use that if you want with water, or you can just use water with salt. That's totally fine. I've done that before. I have the potatoes here to boil. While these are boiling, we're going to start making the ground beef mixture. So while this is heating up, because we're going to be adding some of the ground beef, I'm going to preheat my oven to 400. Start putting the ground beef in here, and I'm going to be seasoning. You can season it the way you want, but I will show you the seasonings that I put in my ground beef. So my stove is on high right now. And I'm just trying to get this going. Cut it up in little pieces because I don't want them to be like in big chunks, right? You can use one of these things too. I bought this off of this is like Temu for some. I think I bought this off of Temu or Temu, whatever you want to call it. And you can like mix it up and use one of these things. Whatever apparatus you want to use to chunk up your beef, that's fine. I also use lean ground beef, but you can use whatever you want. See, this is why I don't really, to be honest, this is why I don't really like to use this because it gets stuck there. But I just want to show you, you can use whatever you want. Yeah, put that in the sink. Now that it starts to cook, we're going to season it now. So the seasoning that I use is garlic powder, and I just sprinkle it on top. So I don't know, maybe like a teaspoon or two, maybe 2 teaspoons. I use onion powder. Again, I sprinkle it on the top. That might be like 2 teaspoons. I also like to use some Italian seasoning. Just grab that. Again, I'd say probably 2 teaspoons. You can season it the way you want. That's really up to you. And this is the smoked paprika. I'm adding that as well. I'd say maybe a teaspoon of that one. And then some salt and pepper, black pepper. I just kind of sprinkle it on as well. I'm like a sprinkle girl. I like to just season my stuff with sprinkles and I taste as I go along. Salt as well. We don't want to add too much salt here because we are going to be adding some beef broth and you don't want it to be too salty. So I'd say maybe like half a teaspoon and start mixing that up. Nothing in this kitchen is bland, so we're going to be seasoning this up nice. And just let it cook. Here we go again. Let it cook. Okay, so the ground beef is all cooked. Nicely well done. That's the way I like it. And we're going to now add, I'm going to turn down the heat probably to like a 4. So like a medium high. No, a medium low. Sorry. And I'm going to add some flour because we're going to be thickening up the, it's like the bottom of the shepherd's pie. All of the proper ingredients, like the measurements and stuff, will be in the caption below, so you'll be able to see that. And we're going to mix this up and almost like cook the flour so that it doesn't give you that raw flavor, I guess. I'm not sure. But we're going to be cooking up the flour. So we're going to let that cook for a little bit. And then this is where we're going to be adding the beef broth. That's why I was saying not to put too much salt because beef broth already has its own salt. We can always add, but we can't take away, right? Beef broth that I'm using. And we just slowly put it in. Because we want it, it's almost like we're making a gravy, almost like a thicker gravy. We don't want it too thick, of course, because see how it's just like this? So we keep pouring it in to see like how I'm going to actually lower it here for you to see. I guess that's the lowest you can see, I guess. Yeah, I'll bring it over like this. You see how it's like clumping and thickening? We have to add some more beef broth. See how it's thickening? Add just a little bit more beef broth. Because we're making it kind of like a thick gravy with ground beef in that. See that? We're also going to be adding approximately a quarter cup of ketchup to give it flavor. Don't have to if you don't want to. This is just the way I make it. Add that to the mixture. This is totally optional. If you like the flavor of it with just the beef broth, that's great. But this is how I make it. And I'll tell you a story about where I got this from. Because of course I always have a story for there's always a story for food. Let that cook a little bit and then we're going to start assembling. Let's give it a little taste. Spoon, not going back in. I don't double dip. I will grab another spoon if I have to. Back her up. Always taste your food while you're cooking. That's where the love comes in. You know what I'm saying? Nice. What do I need? Maybe a little bit more salt. So I'm going to add a little bit more salt. Just a little bit. Mix it up. You don't want it to be overpowering either because there's going to be potatoes and there's going to be vegetables and some cheese. That's also optional, but we love cheese here. Let me try it again. In the sink, as you heard. Pull it out. New one. Because I know some people have complained. Anyways. Yeah. Gone. Okay, this is perfect. So now we can start assembling it. And then when the potatoes are done cooking, we're going to cream them. And then we'll assemble it all together and I'll show you. Okay, so now I'm ready to start eventually putting it together. But here, I'll put it sideways like this so you can see. We're just going to add this right to the bottom of the bowl. Put that in the sink. And then we're going to, because this is going to be our base, this is the bottom part of it here. So try to make that as even as possible. There. Okay. Now I took the liberty of already opening a can of corn. These are optional. If you don't like these things, you don't have to put them in. I'm just showing you how I make mine. So we're going to put some corn here. You put as much or as little as you want. Totally up to you. Put it separately. My kids don't really like the vegetables, but they tolerate them. They like the corn in it. Now this is a small one. You can always use like a 9 by 12 and just make a bigger batch. The recipe is going to be for like a 9 by 12. And then you can just put it in a smaller thing because not a lot of people are going to be eating it tonight. So that's why I'm making a smaller one. Now these ones are the frozen peas and corn. You can grab a can if you want as well. Again, if you don't like these, don't add that. I'm just going to add it and spread it evenly. Now sometimes I add cheese to my actual potatoes and then the cheese on top. It gives it like a really nice flavor. I don't know if you've ever tried that before, adding cheese to your potatoes and then you mash it all up together. So good. Anyway, I will do it this time to show you, because I'm always playing music in the background when I'm cooking. But when I'm making these videos, like obviously I can't because of like copyright. I like to sing to myself, and I want to share with you guys because like what's going on in my head. She said, "Take it easy, I will do all the work." Yep. You don't have to wild up yourself. You don't have to wild up yourself. She's a bubble and a bubble and a bubble and wine. So ridiculous, I know. Okay, so this is when you know that the potatoes are done. It's like fork tender. So when you try to put your fork in it, if it starts to kind of fall apart, that means that the potatoes are done. So drain them and start creaming them. So I'm just realizing like it's probably the wrong the wrong video to be singing that song. Sorry guys. It's always in me. Anyway, let's start creaming these potatoes. Actually, I'm going to add the butter first. I add butter and cream to my potatoes. You don't have to, but I do. Let's do that. I usually give it a pretty big dollop of butter to give it that creaminess, that butter flavor. And then I just add a little bit of cream and then I start mixing. And then I just, keep going as I go. So let's start. Also, if you don't have one of these, you can always use like the potato masher if you want. I just find this a lot easier. Okay, now I'm going to taste them, see if they have enough salt, enough flavor. And so let's taste it. See, missing salt. Okay, a little bit. I will start creaming them again. Try it again. Throw it away, guys. There it goes. I just love comments like that. It's like, ew, you're putting the spoon that was in the food. Well, yeah, how else are you gonna taste it? Like, anyway. Better? I think I might add some more butter. I think that's what it needs. Just a little bit more butter to give it like a little bit more of a creamy flavor. And then I'm going to add the cheese. That will give it its final flavor. All right, here we go. I have lots of times not put cheese in my potatoes. You don't have to if you don't want to. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to add extra old white cheddar cheese. You add whatever cheese you like. A little bit like that. Okay, let's taste it again. For the amount of tasting of the potatoes, there's going to be barely any potatoes left. Perfect. Okay, let's start assembling it. Putting it together, I'll tell you the story about where I got this from. So I used to be a paralegal many years ago. So I was working at a law firm and we had a potluck. Most of the time, you don't really want to eat from people. And if you know, Anyway, so we had a potluck. Somebody had brought a shepherd's pie. And she also owned a bakery. So I was like, okay, it's probably okay. So I tasted it and I was like, oh my God, this is really, really good. I've never had shepherd's pie like this before. So I asked her, I said, in general, I normally don't eat from other people, but this was really good. And I was like, so I asked her like how she made it and stuff. And she told me, oh, it's super simple, which it is. It's very simple. And I was like, okay. So I just listened to what she said and I came up with like ratios and whatever I needed to and how we like it at our family. And I've been making shepherd's pie like this ever since. That was probably like, I don't know, 15 years ago. So it's been a long time since I've been making this way. It's a family favorite for sure. We call it pâté chinois here. It's the French way of saying shepherd's pie. It doesn't actually translate to shepherd's pie, so I'm not entirely sure where they got that from. But that's what we call it here at home. It's pâté chinois. Skip this step if you don't want to have cheese on top. Um, but my kids really like it like this, so this is why I do it for my kids. My kids are grown, but they're still my kids. Now, obviously, we don't have to cook it for very long because everything in this dish is already cooked. We just want it to like come together and the cheese to kind of like melt, a little bit of a crispiness to them. Okay, so shout out to Josette for this. This is her shepherd's pie. Well, at least a rendition of her shepherd's pie that I created myself. But here we go. We're going to thank Josette for this. It's on 400, preheated, putting it in the oven now. This is a Pyrex. Just make sure that whatever you put your shepherd's pie is oven safe. Okay, look here. That's perfect. Let's take it out. Okay, so it's all done. I'm going to place it here and we're going to cut it together. Okay, so it's still warm. And I'm going to try and see if we can get it all in one piece because I'm going to show you the shepherd's pie anyway. See that? Just going to let it go. Try to let it go. It's a little bit messy, but it's so good. And there you have my shepherd's pie. Okay, so it's my turn to taste. It's so good. Try it and let me know.